One morning, out of nowhere, the sun had just risen and people were getting ready for a new day. Conversations filled breakfast tables, children packed their school bags, and street vendors waited for their first customers. Life was as ordinary as ever, flowing in its usual rhythm. But in that moment, nature decided to break that order. First, a slight tremor. A few people thought it was just a minor shake, but within seconds, a deafening roar from beneath the earth swallowed the entire city. Thick clouds of dust rose to the sky, blocking out the sun. Towns along the border of China and Myanmar crumbled to the ground in mere moments. Buildings collapsed, roads split open. Before people could even comprehend what was happening, they found themselves in the middle of chaos. A father dropped to his knees in front of the ruins of his home, desperately calling out the names of his missing family. A little girl, trapped in a small pocket of space under the debris, shivered as she reached for her mother's hand. The darkness around her threatened to consume her, while distant cries for help flickered like a ray of hope. The morning's silence was shattered by the echoes of terror. Among the wreckage, a baby lay motionless in its mother's arms. A man clung desperately to a door handle, trying to pull his trapped son from beneath the rubble. All around, an unspoken battle for survival unfolded. The soft groans from beneath the ruins, the desperate hands reaching out for help, the shattered dreams buried under fallen walls. The town's busiest street had become unrecognizable within seconds. Loaves of bread, once neatly stacked in front of a bakery, were now crushed under heavy stones. A child holding his mother's hand on the way to school suddenly found himself grasping at empty air. One question echoed in every mind. Is this a nightmare, or is it real? As the hours passed, hope for those trapped beneath the rubble faded. But sometimes, in the darkest moments, the greatest hope is born. The moment the news broke, countries sprang into action. Not just government officials, but artists, doctors, and volunteers, all united with one goal. We have to get there. A singer took to social media. If not now, then when? These people need us. Tens of thousands shared the message. Political views, borders, languages, none of it mattered. There was only one truth. Humanity had to respond. But as the call for help spread, so did fear and despair. Everyone knew how dangerous it was to reach the disaster zone, how difficult it would be to navigate through the destruction. Yet, they found strength in each other. Many left their homes without knowing if they would return. In that moment, in a world where there was only time to hold on to each other, hearts pounded with helplessness and fear. No one knew if they would make it back, but they were certain of one thing. If they stood together, they could overcome anything. They searched for light in each other's eyes, carrying one another forward. Yet, with every step, they felt more lost. When the rescue teams arrived, they were stunned by the scale of the devastation. The sky was darkened by the dust and smoke of collapsed buildings. The air was thick, suffocating. The land, as if mourning its lost souls, had fallen into an eerie silence. Every building had become a tombstone for the dreams of its inhabitants. The memories, the laughter, the love, now buried beneath the ruins. A rescue worker closed his eyes and took a deep breath. There was no time to stop, but the fear gripping his heart was undeniable. "We're here, and we won't leave anyone behind," he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible. Every moment felt like a race against time, as if another soul was slipping away with each second. This was not just a disaster. It was a nightmare swallowing an entire people. But as time passed, the rescuers' spirits only grew stronger. Because in their hands, they held hope. Every life they saved told a story far greater than mere survival. Many of them carried the dreams of their own loved ones in their hearts. For days, volunteers and artists not only helped but carried hope with them. A musician sat beside a crying child, holding their hand and softly humming a tune. The melody eased the fear in the child's eyes, if only for a moment. But each note rang out like a rebellion against the destruction. Each note brought to life the memories of a lost child or a missing mother. That same song told the story of devastation and rebirth. Rescue workers dug with their bare hands where machines couldn't reach. Their fingers bled, but they knew that beneath every stone, a life might be waiting. Yet, with each passing minute, hope grew smaller. Many injured souls had perished. Many futures had been erased. A rescuer, after hours of digging, found a tiny hand beneath the rubble. This is a child's hand," he cried out, but his heart clenched with fear. The child he pulled out was lifeless, another miracle that had faded. The entire rescue team paused, hearts heavy with grief. It wasn't just the loss of one child, it felt like the entire town's hopes had been crushed. Every life lost in the debris whispered a story that would never be told. Each ruin carried the voices of the departed. And in that moment, the silent pain within them deepened. An actor, handing out water to the exhausted rescue teams, tried to hide his tears. "We just play roles on stage, but the real heroes are you," he said. Yet, even he struggled to mask the fear in his own heart. A doctor, with trembling hands, checked the pulse of a small boy in a field hospital. "Hang in there, little guy," he whispered. "You're going to make it." But in the eyes of every child he treated, he saw the weight of loss. Each tiny heartbeat was a fragile miracle, a symbol of life hanging in the balance. This was a battle no one could easily win. Every rescue was a mix of hope and heartbreak. Every search through the wreckage unearthed both dreams and despair. Then, a miracle happened. After 48 hours, a 4-year-old girl was pulled from the rubble alive. Her body was covered in dust, her eyes filled with fear. But in the crowd, she heard a familiar voice. A singer knelt beside her and gently asked, "Were you scared?" The little girl nodded, but then added, "But now, there are songs." At that moment, everyone watching burst into applause and tears. Because this was not just a rescue, it was proof that even in the darkest times, humanity could come together. And yet, the sorrow would not fade easily. For every life saved, countless others were lost. The faces of missing mothers, fathers, brothers, and friends lingered. Each one had been a beacon of hope, now lost. And deep inside, everyone knew that one of those missing could have been their own loved one. And so, they wept. Not just for the saved, but for the lost. This miraculous rescue was only the beginning of another long journey. And then, a powerful voice echoed through the ruins. "We are together." But this time, it was a voice filled with both pain and remembrance. And within the wreckage, there was more than just despair. There was hope. Hope had never truly vanished. Because when people held on to one another, even in the deepest darkness, a light could always be found. Earthquakes don't just shake the ground. They shake the human soul. At times, we feel helpless. At times, we feel lost. Sometimes, after a great loss, the world seems like nothing but emptiness. But at the end of every darkness, there is a light. And that light shines brightest when we stand together. The people of that country opened their homes to the earthquake survivors. From distant villages, towns, and cities, they left behind their own comfort to come together for those in need. Strangers became family. A child's lost gaze, a mother's fear, a father's despair, each found an echo in the hearts of others. Because, in the end, we are all connected. Losing one another means losing a piece of ourselves. An artist composed a song to share the pain and resilience of those who had suffered. With every note, the memory of the lost and the strength of the survivors grew. They donated every penny earned from the song to the victims. And in every melody, there was the story of those who had been buried, those who had been saved, and those who fought to keep hope alive. This moment became etched in the minds of all who witnessed it. This was not just their tragedy. It was a story of humanity itself. The lost children, the shattered homes, the grieving families. They reminded us of both the fragility and strength of the human spirit. This was not just about aid in the wake of a disaster. It was humanity's greatest test of compassion and solidarity. We realized that every helping hand was a ray of light, and every person who gave their heart to this cause made the burden a little lighter. Every act of kindness helped heal wounds, even if just a little. In that moment, it wasn't just humanity that stood tall. It was conscience itself. As people shed tears for the lives lost, they also became a beacon of hope for those who remained. Final message: never forget yourself, but never forget others either. We must never forget each other's pain. We must stand together so that no one is ever left behind. Because humanity is the greatest miracle to rise from the rubble. And sometimes, even the deepest wounds can heal when we stand as one. That light has always been within us. We just need to find it together and brighten the darkness. If you like this story, don't forget to share it with your friends and subscribe for more content.